The Series S version of Black Myth Wukong has a lot of the expected cuts. There are actually 3 full modes here: a performance, quality, and balance mode, just like the other consoles. Performance mode takes a few hits compared to Series X. Shadows are much blobbier and undefined, with a very low resolution and a heavily filtered appearance. And a lot of the game's foliage and ground clutter is simplified or absent. These cuts fall on top of the existing performance mode concessions, including the loss of Lumen GI. There's another big cutback though that seems to be scene specific. The fog fluid sim in the game's introduction doesn't make the cut in the Series S performance mode. It's also stripped out of the game's quality and balance modes on Series S, unfortunately. I imagine this kind of change could make some visual impacts in certain scenes later in the game as well. Wukong's rendering resolution is also slashed, falling to about 792p in my tests. The lower pixel count is reflected in a much muddier, more imprecise image with obvious artifacting. On the flip side though, Wukong runs at a decent 60fps clip on Series S in performance mode. There are no signs of frame gen here either, unlike on the much more powerful PlayStation 5. I'd expect occasional drops typically accompanied by tearing during normal, non-VRR play, but it doesn't impact the game all that much. In quality mode, we see some of the same compromises. Shadow resolution is dialed back, and foliage is somewhat sparser. But there's one glaring difference. Lumen appears to be completely gone on the weaker console. The Series S version looks dramatically different across a range of lighting conditions as a result, just like we saw when we examined the Series X performance mode. Series S clocks in at about 1080p here, down from the roughly 1728p measurement we logged on Microsoft's premium console. Expect a somewhat imprecise rendition of Black Myth Wukong, though for a Series S game, image quality seems fine. Frame rates are also decent enough, clocking in with a stable 30fps output in my testing, aside from some occasional wobbles up and down like the other consoles. Balance mode on the S comes in basically as expected, with thinned out foliage, blobbier shadows, and no lumen whatsoever. It looks very similar to the quality mode, except for image quality, which is somewhat worse. Internal pixel counts clock in at roughly 864p or so, which seems fine enough. At 60Hz output without VRR, the game runs in balanced mode with an unlocked framerate with heavy tearing, which isn't ideal, but toggling on 120Hz output gives the game a smoother 40fps playback, which I find much more pleasing. Wukong generally hangs just fine at 40fps, absent momentary drops here and there.